Nitrogen makes up nearly 80% of the air we breathe, silent, invisible, and essential to life as we know it. But behind its calm presence lies a complex journey, one that shaped Earth's earliest ecosystems, powered evolution, and now threatens to unravel entire marine habitats. How did this vital element become a silent disruptor? You're about to find out. Welcome to Earth Diary, where today we uncover the shocking truth behind atmospheric nitrogen. Nitrogen, it's the most abundant gas in our atmosphere, making up a whopping 78% of the air we breathe. What role does this invisible gas play in sustaining life on Earth? And how can too much of it create oceanic dead zones where life can't survive? Let's unravel the essential, complex, and sometimes dangerous story of atmospheric nitrogen. Although nitrogen dominates our atmosphere, it's surprisingly unreactive. In its natural gaseous form, it doesn't readily combine with other elements. Why? Because nitrogen gas is bound by one of the strongest known chemical bonds, a triple bond, which makes it highly stable and unreactive. Plants, animals, even most microbes can't break it. But still, nitrogen is essential for life. Every living organism, from microscopic bacteria to humans, relies on nitrogen. It's a fundamental component of proteins, DNA, RNA, and even vitamins. But here's the catch: to become bioavailable, nitrogen must first be converted into usable compounds, and this brings us to one of nature's most complex systems, the nitrogen cycle. The nitrogen cycle is a biogeochemical journey where nitrogen travels through the atmosphere, oceans, geosphere, and biosphere, changing forms and supporting life at every step. Let's walk through this incredible process. The first step is nitrogen fixation. This is where specialized prokaryotes, primarily bacteria and archaea, in the soil and aquatic environments, break the triple bond and convert atmospheric nitrogen into a usable form, ammonia and ammonium ions, which plants can absorb. These microorganisms, including blue-green algae and bacteria in the roots of leguminous plants like clover and peas, make nitrogen bioavailable. These plants enrich the soil in nitrogen-poor environments. Next, we have nitrification, a two-step process. First, ammonium is converted to nitrite by bacteria like Nitrosomonas. Then, nitrite is converted to nitrate by other bacteria such as Nitrobacter. These nitrates are readily absorbed by plant roots and used to synthesize proteins, amino acids, and DNA, the building blocks of life. As plants and animals die or excrete waste, their nitrogen-rich organic material is broken down by decomposer bacteria into ammonia, which again becomes ammonium in soil, restarting the cycle. This process is called ammonification or mineralization. But the cycle isn't complete until nitrogen is returned to the atmosphere. This happens through denitrification. It is the reduction of nitrate back into nitrogen gas or nitrous oxide by anaerobic bacteria, ready to begin the cycle again. Interestingly, early Earth had very little atmospheric nitrogen, and bioavailable nitrogen, like ammonia, was more common. As atmospheric nitrogen increased with time, nitrogen-fixing bacteria evolved and life evolved to adapt. As oxygen was not present, nitrogen fixing occurred in absence of oxygen. Anaerobic nitrogen-fixing bacteria are much ancient than others in the nitrogen cycle. Some of those bacteria still exist today, tucked away in oxygen-free niches. Few of these evolved to work in oxygen-rich environment, but they still use the old, anaerobic nitrogen fixation method in their cellular units that are devoid of oxygen. Later, as oxygen levels rose in the atmosphere and the amount of nitrate in the soil also increased, new types of bacteria emerged. These organisms learned how to reduce nitrates into ammonia. Denitrifying bacteria came quite late, when surplus oxygen started to accumulate in the atmosphere, completing the modern nitrogen cycle we know today. Thus, the simple nitrogen cycle of the early Earth has evolved into today's complex cycle in response to Earth's evolving biogeochemical cycles. But humans have added a new twist to the cycle. In the early 20th century, scientists developed industrial processes to fix nitrogen, creating chemical fertilizers. Through the Haber-Bosch process, we fix atmospheric nitrogen industrially, converting N2 into ammonia, NH3, to create synthetic fertilizers on a massive scale. Today, industrial nitrogen fixation rivals nature's, making up around 60% of all nitrogen added to the biosphere. This revolutionized agriculture, but it came with a price. We're now producing more reactive nitrogen than ecosystems can handle. Excess nitrogen from fertilizers and waste doesn't stay put. It washes into rivers and coastal waters, triggering eutrophication, and over-enrichment of nutrients in aquatic systems. Excess nitrogen and phosphorus fuel massive algal blooms. When these algae die and decompose, they consume massive amounts of oxygen, leading to hypoxic or anoxic conditions known as dead zones. In these oxygen-starved areas, most marine life can't survive. Fish and other marine life either flee or die. Entire food chains collapse. Some of these algal blooms produce toxins harmful to humans and animals, contaminating drinking water and seafood. Globally, over 400 dead zones have been identified. The largest dead zone in the world lies in the Arabian Sea, covering almost the entire 63,700 square mile Gulf of Oman. The second largest sits in the Gulf of Mexico in the United States, averaging almost 6,000 square miles in size. Some, like those in the Chesapeake Bay and Baltic Sea, and several coastal regions in China and Japan, are human-caused. Others, like the deep waters of the Black Sea, occur naturally. Regardless of origin, the impact is the same: biodiversity loss, ecosystem collapse, and economic damage to fisheries and coastal communities. The good news? Dead zones can recover through reduced sewage and industrial emissions treatment and responsible farming practices. But it takes awareness, science, and global cooperation. Nitrogen, essential for life, yet dangerous in excess. It's a life-giver, a silent recycler, and a double-edged sword. Managing it wisely means protecting the delicate balance of life on Earth. Managing nitrogen isn't just an agricultural issue, it's an environmental, ecological, and even public health concern. So the next time you think of nitrogen, remember, it may be invisible and inert in the air, but its story is anything but passive. If you learned something new, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. And let us know in the comments, how can we better protect our planet from the unintended consequences of nitrogen overuse? Thanks for watching, stay curious, and keep learning.